In this video, you will learn how to assemble and install your Maxis tilting canopy. This video will complement other detailed information provided in FLOE's written assembly instructions and owner's manual. Before assembling the Maxis canopy, ensure you have a system layout that shows the position of your dock and lift. Our Designer Dock tool is ideal to help you lay out and visualize the dock system prior to assembly and installation. In a right side layout configuration, the motor faces the shore. In a left side configuration, the motor faces the lake. Also note the location of the V-brace on the boat lifts in each configuration. On a right side configuration, the V-brace is on the right side of the lift. In a left side configuration, the V-brace is on the left side of the lift.
In this video, we will focus on the right side Maxis configuration for a VSD 5000 lift. The only differences on a left side configuration is the location and attachment of the ASC unit and the location of the tilt actuators. These differences will be pointed out in the video during those assemblies. Everything else in the assembly is the same. Also, if you're working on a smaller or larger lift, there may be less or more parts involved. Understandably, a Maxis canopy installation is basically the same, no matter which lift it's being installed on. This animated assembly is meant to be an overall guide to aid you in the installation process. The Maxis canopy installation will take approximately 4 hours with 2 people. In order to do this assembly, you will need the following tools. Two sets of anchoring systems, which is a total of 4 anchors, must be used on a boat lift with a Maxis canopy installed. The anchors must be installed before the canopy fabric is put on the frame. For installation instructions on FLOE's anchoring system, refer to the installation guide included with the anchoring kit.
Slide a canopy leg into each of the corner posts. The non-tilting legs have a milled hole at the top and are placed in both of the corner posts that face the shore. Before sliding the canopy legs onto the posts, insert a bolt and flat washer into the hole at the top of the corner post. Guide the ASC box onto the bolt, and loosely thread a nylock nut to keep everything in place. Guide the channel and the canopy leg onto the bolt, washer, and nut. But do not tighten yet. On a left side layout configuration, the ASC unit is mounted to the battery tray with a bracket. This bracket and associated hardware is included in the same box as your actuators and containment brackets. Attach the mounting bracket to the battery tray by slipping it onto the edge of the tray as shown. Tighten the bolt on the mounting bracket. Attach the ASC unit to the bracket with a 3/4 inch bolt and 1/2 inch nut. Ensure all bolts are tight on the bracket. Repeat this process on the other non-tilting leg, the one without an ASC unit. The tilting legs have no hole at the top and are placed in both of the corner posts facing the lake. Repeat this process on both of the tilting legs. Ensure that all of the canopy legs are 18 inches above each corner post, then tighten and torque all the nuts and bolts to 60 foot-pounds. Next, locate a canopy vertical guide. Guide the vertical guide into the rear canopy legs and align the holes. Place 2 3/8 by 3/4 inch bolts into the canopy leg and guide holes. Tighten and torque to 10 foot-pounds. Repeat this same process on the other side.
Locate a containment bracket and slide it over a vertical guide. Add 2 guide tabs and 2 spacers to the containment bracket, as shown. Make sure the guide tabs face the outside of the lift. Slide a couple 1 1/4 inch special bolts into the tabs, spacers, and containment bracket as shown. Special bolts are used throughout this entire assembly, and are named as such because they have specially milled heads that lock into the channel when turned 90 degrees. Do not turn the bolts 90 degrees yet. There will be more information about special bolts later in this assembly. For now, just install the bolts in the assembly and add a 1/2 inch nylock nut to hold them in place. Repeat this process on the other canopy upright on the opposite side of the lift.
Locate your 3 canopy rail sections. At the end of the longest section, slide a 1/2 inch aluminum nut into the top track as shown. Thread a 1 1/4 inch bolt into the nut. The canopy rail has a hole that the bolt guides into, which locks the next section into place. Slide the short, straight canopy rail section into the long canopy rail section, like pieces in a puzzle. Then tighten the bolt in the top rail and torque to 25 foot-pounds, which will securely lock the sections together. Locate the final canopy rail section, which is the section that features the adjustment bracket on the inner side. Slide a 1/2 inch nut and a 1 1/4 inch bolt into the top track, just as you did with the first section. Slide this last rail section in place. Then, tighten and torque the top bolt to 25 foot-pounds. Add the black vinyl caps to each end of the rail by slipping them over the pre-installed bolts in the top channel, as shown. Insert the included vinyl collars over all of the pre-installed bolts in the top channel of both canopy rails. The bolts will be used later on in the canopy hoop assembly. Repeat this entire process on the other canopy rail assembly.
Set an assembled canopy rail onto the canopy bracket assembly and tilting canopy leg. Make sure the adjustment bracket on the canopy rail is facing inward. Check again to be sure the guide tabs are facing away from the lift, as shown. Then, use a 1/2 inch piece of wood or other material to make a temporary shim between the top of the canopy leg and the bottom of the containment bracket. Watch the following short video before turning the special bolts 90 degrees on the containment bracket assembly. This will lock them into place. FLOE's special bolts are specifically engineered to fit and lock into the channels of Maxis canopy rails. First, insert the head of the bolt fully into the channel. Next, twist the bolt a full 90 degrees so the bolt head is perpendicular to the channel. The head of the bolt must be completely perpendicular in order to lock. If this is not done, damage and/or injury may result from an improperly secured canopy. Ensure that the special bolts are properly locked before adding and tightening nuts. Here's the same process on the top channel of the canopy rail, which you'll be doing later in the Maxis assembly. Let's watch this one more time. Insert. Twist 90 degrees. Double check to be sure the bolt head is perpendicular.
Align the canopy rail to your desired overhang. The arrangement and overhang of the canopy will depend on the position, type, and size of the watercraft. First, ensure your boat's center of gravity is centered on the lift. Then, as a general rule of thumb, align the canopy rail to be centered with your boat when your desired placement is achieved. Take a measurement from the corner post to the end of the canopy rail and repeat the process on the other canopy rail. Before turning the special bolts 90 degrees, make sure there is 1/2 inch of space between the canopy upright and the edge of the containment bracket, as shown. Then remove the nuts on the special bolts and turn the bolts 90 degrees. Remember to ensure that the special bolt heads are perpendicular to the channel in the canopy rail. Tighten and torque the bolts to 60 foot-pounds. Locate a pivot bracket and add 2 1 1/4 inch special bolts to the bracket before sliding it into place. When the holes in the bracket are lined up with the holes in the canopy leg, turn the special bolts 90 degrees to lock them into place. Add 2 nylock nuts, then tighten and torque to 60 foot-pounds. Fasten the pivoting bracket with a 4-inch bolt, 2 washers, and a 1/2 inch nylock nut, as shown. Tighten only to engage the nylock in the nut and remove any free play in the bolt. This bracket's purpose is to move freely. Tighten only until snug. Then back off a 1/4 turn. Do not torque. Repeat this process on the opposite side of the lift.
Locate an upper actuator bracket and insert a couple 1 1/4 inch special bolts. Align the actuator bracket so it is 9 inches from the edge of the corner post to the center of the actuator bracket, as shown. Turn the special bolts 90 degrees to lock them into place. Add a couple half-inch nylock nuts, then tighten only until snug. Do not torque. Place an actuator into the bracket, and attach using a 2.5-inch bolt and a 3/8 inch nut, as shown. Tighten until snug. Do not torque or over-tighten. Attach a lower actuator bracket to the bottom of the actuator using a 2.5-inch bolt and a 3/8 inch nylock nut. Tighten and torque to 20 foot-pounds. From Chapter 5, you should still have a half-inch spacer sitting between the canopy rail guide bracket and the canopy leg. If it's not in place, put it in place now. This is done to ensure there is a 1/4 inch gap between the bracket and the leg. Although, a 1/4 inch of space is needed for proper installation. A half-inch spacer is used to allow for sagging after the spacer is removed. Also, the spacer is not included with your kit. A commonly used material is a half-inch block of wood. This is a very important step. Improper setup will result in damage to the tilting and lift components. After your Maxis is fully assembled and working properly, the spacer can be discarded. If you haven't already done so, swing the actuator and lower the bracket onto the leg. Attach it to the leg with a couple of 4-inch bolts and 3/8 inch nuts. Check to be sure your spacer is still in place. Then tighten only until snug. Do not torque. Repeat this process on the actuator on the other side of the lift.
Locate an end hoop and slide it onto the final set of bolt studs on the canopy rail. The end hoops are directional. Ensure that the pre-installed threaded rivet nuts are facing inward. Slide the regular hoops over the remaining bolt stud. Except for the last set of studs at the other end, which will receive an end hoop. Regular hoops do not have pre-installed threaded rivet nuts, like the end hoops do. Place the other end hoop on the final set of bolt studs, in the same fashion as shown. Again, ensure that the pre-installed threaded rivet nuts are facing inward.
On the short-facing end of the canopy frame, insert a 1 1/4 inch special bolt into the upper track of the canopy rail. Locate a non-adjustable corner support and guide it onto the bolt as shown. Non-adjustable supports are rigid and have no movable parts, unlike the adjustable corner supports that will be installed on the other end of the canopy frame in a few more steps. Insert a 1-inch bolt and flat washer into the hole at the top of the support and guide it into the threaded rivet nut located on the canopy and hoop. Do not fully tighten or torque yet. Just tighten enough to keep the bolt and washer in place. Then, turn the special bolt 90 degrees to lock it in place in the channel. Thread a half-inch nylock nut onto the bolt. Tighten and torque to 60 foot-pounds. Then, tighten and torque the upper bolt to 10 foot-pounds. Repeat on the other side. The adjustable corner supports are installed in the same way, with the same fasteners, as the non-adjustable brackets you just installed on the other end of the canopy. Ensure these brackets are installed with the elbow facing out as shown, with everything in place. Tighten the top bolt to 10 foot-pounds, and the bottom bolt to 60 foot-pounds. Repeat on the other side.
Next is the assembly and attachment of the canopy support rails to the hoops. The support rails come in 5 lengths: extra long, long, medium, short, and extra short. Depending on the size of your canopy frame, you may have more or less of these sizes included in your kit. When planning your support rail layout, work from the shore end to the leg end of the canopy, and always begin with the longest length rail. Then, add the next lengths in descending size, until you reach the other end of the canopy. For the 28-foot Maxis canopy frame, in this example, the support rails will be attached to the canopy frame in the order shown here. Locate an extra long section of canopy support rail, and place it at the top center of the hoops. At the end of the canopy frame, facing the shore. Remove the zip tie securing the black vinyl cap to the rail. Orient the rail so the vinyl cap end is at the end of the canopy as shown. When fastening the support rails to the hoops, start from the center and work your way out. This is done for 2 reasons. First, if you're fastening the rails by yourself, starting from the center and working out is much easier. This method will also prevent potential bowing in the rail or cantering of bolts. Insert a 1.5-inch carriage bolt and a 1/4-inch nylock nut from step 6 of your canopy fastener card. Working your way out on each side, add 1.5 inch carriage bolts and 1/4 inch nylock nuts to the rest of the support rail. Tighten all the nuts and bolts on the Canopy Hoops support rails, only until snug. When you reach the end of the extra long support rail, add a splice channel and a long length support rail. Secure with 1 inch carriage bolts and nylock nuts. Continue to support the rail to the Canopy Hoops, using 1.5 inch carriage bolts and nylock nuts. When you reach the end of the long support rail, add another splice channel and a medium length support rail. Secure the splice channel with 1 inch carriage bolts and nylock nuts. Continue to support the rail to the Canopy Hoops, using 1.5 inch carriage bolts and nylock nuts. When you reach the end of the medium support rail, add another splice channel and a short length support rail. Secure the splice channel with 1 inch carriage bolts and nylock nuts. Continue to fasten the support rails, using 1.5 inch carriage bolts and nylock nuts. When you reach the end of the short rail, locate an extra short rail. Cut the zip tie on the black vinyl cap and secure it with a 1.75 inch carriage bolt and a nylock nut. Secure the other end of the short rail section with a channel extension guide, which features a meld center. Secure the 1 inch bolt closest to the end of the canopy with a nylock nut. The other 1 inch bolt is secured with an adjustment knob in the milled area of the guide, as shown. Next is the installation of the side rail supports. Side rail canopy supports are installed in the exact same manner as the center support rail, you just completed with one exception. Side rails are installed on the underside of the hoops as shown. This is done to prevent pooling of water on the canopy.
Next is the installation of the cable support on your Maxis canopy. First, install 1 3/8 inch nut, which will be referred to as the adjustment bolt lock nut, and 1 3/8 inch washer onto each of the 6 inch adjustment bolts. Install the bolts through both holes in the vertical tubes in the side supports. Next, install a 3/8 inch nut onto the bolt. The side supports are placed towards the center of the canopy on each main rail, with the angled side facing the end of the canopy with the most overhang. Insert 2 special bolts into the slot in the top of the canopy rail. Rotate the bolt 90 degrees in the slot to lock the bolt into position. Install the support bracket over the 2 special bolts, ensuring that the diagonal part of the bracket is facing forward on the lift. This will be the end with the most overhang. Then, install a 1/2 inch nylock nut loosely onto the special bolts. Torque the nuts to 60 foot-pounds. Thread the end of the adjustment bolt into the threaded end of the adjustment cable until it bottoms out. Next, tighten the 3/8 inch nut against the end of the cable. You will need to use a 9/16 and a 7/8 inch wrench to hold the cable while tightening the nut. Next, run the 3/8 adjustment bolt lock nut as far back as possible toward the head of the adjustment bolt. Route the support cables on the inside of the canopy hoops. Insert a special bolt into the slot in the main rail near the end of the adjustment cable and rotate it 90 degrees to lock it into the rail. Make sure that there are no twists in the cable. Then, install the cable over the special bolt and install a 1/2 inch nylock nut onto the bolt. Pull each adjustment cable as far forward as possible. Torque the nylock nut to 60 foot-pounds while ensuring that the cable end is parallel with the canopy channel. If your cable ends are not parallel to the main rail, you may cause damage to the canopy fabric. Repeat the same process for the other cable support. Next, you will need to tighten the support cables. To tighten the cable, hold the hex end of the adjustment bolt with a 9/16 inch wrench. Then, tighten the adjustment bolt lock with a 9/16 inch open-end wrench. When tightening the cables, make sure to alternate between the 2 cables. Tighten the cables until there is no perceivable downward bow in the canopy beam. Do not over-tighten the cables. Note: if you run out of adjustment thread while tightening the cable, back off of the adjustment screw all the way and move the canopy support further forwards toward the overhang of the canopy. Retighten the fasteners and make adjustments according to the previous steps. After installation, check the cable periodically to ensure that it is still tight and that all hardware is secure.
There is a specific manner in which Hall cords need to be run from the ASC unit to the actuators. To begin, connect the batteries to the ASC unit using the following diagram. For a great video on how to properly connect an ASC unit to two 12-volt batteries, go to FLOEinternational.com. On the battery side of a Maxis configuration, use the shortest cord with black plugs that doesn't have a yellow zip tie attached near the plugs to connect the ASC unit to the nearest actuator. The female end of the cable has a green and red end. Run this cord up the corner post, over the pivoting canopy connection, then along the top channel along the canopy rail to the actuator. The cord must run over the pivoting canopy connection. Connect one end of the cord to the ASC unit and the other end to the actuator. Secure the cord to the hoop ends with the included Velcro. Wrap extra wire near the actuator. Allow for 2 inches of slack, and secure the cord to the canopy rail with Velcro as shown. For the actuator on the other side of the lift, use the longest cord with one gray plug. Run it up the corner post from the ASC unit, then over the pivoting canopy connection, then up the nearest hoop, over and down the other side, then up along the top channel of the opposite canopy rail to the actuator. The cord must run over the pivoting canopy connections. Wrap extra wiring near the actuator. Allow for 2 inches of slack, and secure it to the canopy rail with the included Velcro. Connect one end of the cord to the ASC unit, and the other end to the actuator. Secure the cord to the rails with Velcro, in the same manner as you did with the first cord. Secure the cord to the hoops as shown. The rest of this chapter will show how to run the wiring on a left side Maxis configuration. To run power to the actuator on the battery side of the lift. First, you'll need to use the medium length of wiring that has a yellow zip tie attached to one end near the plug. Next, connect that cord to the shortest black cord, the one with no zip tie attached near a plug. You may think it would be simpler and easier to run the short black cord from the actuator straight to the batteries. But doing so will throw both actuators out of sync, and they won't lift the canopy at the same time. Follow this wiring tutorial for a left side Maxis configuration, or you may damage the Maxis canopy, the lift, or cause serious harm to yourself and others.
Run the medium-length cord, with a yellow zip tie, from the ASC unit, along the bottom of the ball screw assembly. Plug this cord into the shorter, black-ended cord. Run both cords up the corner post, over the pivoting canopy connection, along the canopy rail, to the actuator. This wiring must run over the pivoting canopy connection. Wrap extra wiring near the actuator. Allow for 2 inches of slack, and secure it to the canopy rail with the included Velcro. Connect one end to the actuator. Secure the cord to the ball screw assembly with Velcro. To run the cords to the actuator furthest away from the battery on a Maxis canopy. With a left side configuration, you'll need to use the longest cord with one gray plug, and the medium cord with the yellow zip tie attached near one of the plus ends. To start, attach both cords together, beginning with a long cord with a gray plug. Run the cords from the ASC unit, then along the bottom of the ball screw tube. Then, up the canopy leg, over the pivoting canopy connection, up the nearest canopy hoop. Over and down the other side. Then, along the top channel of the opposite canopy rail to the actuator. The cord must run over the pivoting canopy connections. Wrap extra wiring near the actuator. Allow for 2 inches of slack and secure it to the canopy rail with the included Velcro. Connect one end of the cord to the ASC unit and the other end of the actuator. Secure the cord to the rails with Velcro in the same manner as you did with the first cord. Secure the cord to the hoops as shown. Note: when running the cords along the Maxis canopy legs, make sure to always run the cords toward the inside of the lift.
Refer to your assembly guide for instructions on test running your Maxis canopy before installing the canopy fabric. Refer to your assembly guide and owner's manual for instructions on how to properly install the canopy fabric on your Maxis canopy. Your Maxis tilting canopy is now installed. Thank you for choosing FLOE. Please consult your local dealer if you need additional assistance.